He is always in style. We're sure glad that you've joined us today. I'll tell you what, we've got a really good show for you. I've got a good friend, Vanna, who is going to be here. We're going to hear a lot more about him and what he's doing and some of the great things that are happening, helping out a really tough group of people find the Lord, find a good life here as well. We're going to hear more about that. But, you know, on Powell to the People, KXEX 1550 AM, Saturdays at 4, Sundays at 6. Make sure you share that information with your friends. So we got a lot of folks that are hearing some really good things that are going on. We talk politics, education, religion, technology, sports, values, and healthy communities. You name it. You want to hear about it? We'll talk about it. And we'll also, good news with Larry Powell's on Monday through Friday at 10 and 4. Every day, Monday through Friday. You want to hear a good news story? Join us at KXEX 1550 AM and hear a good news story. You can also catch us on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We got it. We've got a place for you. Listen, isn't it so good? The weather has improved. We're now looking at some things in the 70s, some in the 60s. I think we even hit something in the 50s not too long ago. It's kind of nice. And then I'm looking at the coast. We might get a little rain on Sunday and Monday, and maybe a little rain here on Sunday. So it's going to be an interesting time. We're halfway through September, and all the old TV shows return. Some of my favorites. I'm looking forward to them. That's always a fun thing. I record almost everything. I don't watch anything live anymore. I don't have time, but I can sure cut through commercials and do all that kind of stuff. And we're only 7 weeks or so away from the November midterm elections. I mean, there are a lot of exciting things coming. But I also want to remind you that on October 8th, 2022 at Eagle Springs Golf and Country Club, we've got a great tournament. It's called the Darrell Rogers Golf Tournament. It's for just a great group. It's for Good News Clubs. They raise a lot of money and they help out with them. I think they're in about 80 school classrooms now, doing some really good things, talking about the gospel. So we'd love to have you participate. It costs you $150 a player, $600 for a foursome. And all you got to do is call 559-226-5539. We'll get you signed up. And this tournament usually fills up, so we'd love to have you involved. But that's coming up on October 8th. Simply call 559-226-5539 and get signed up. Listen, I want to welcome Vanna in to the show. Vanna, nice to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're looking forward to hearing a little bit about you. Hope Now for Youth, you're the executive director of it, and we're going to talk about that. But I want folks to get to know you a little bit and hear about a little bit about your history. Where were you born? Tell me a little bit about family and stuff like that. Share with our listeners.
Yes, I was born on the border of Cambodia and Vietnam. So I'm Cambodian of ethnicity, but born on the other side of the border, which is, it's a small border town. If you think about San Diego and Tijuana, I was born on the Tijuana side if you're thinking about America.
Okay.
And so I'm the youngest of 6. And during that time, my family were on the run from the Khmer Rouge.
Oh, yeah. And that was a tough time.
That was a very tough time. 75 to 79, over 2 million Cambodians were killed.
Yeah.
And so we made our way to America in the middle of the Khmer Rouge. And we got to America in 1978. So all 8 of us, both my mom and dad, we were fortunate to have them. And 6 of us, 6 brothers and sisters, 6 siblings, landed in good old Houston, Texas.
Is that right? How'd you get to Houston?
So we were sponsored. So typically refugee families are sponsored either by churches or different organizations.
Okay.
And we made our way. So whoever sponsored us was from Houston.
Wow. And so you ended up being a Texan.
That's right. So, a Houstonian in Texas. And we were in the middle of downtown Houston, Texas. Stayed there for about 7 years. Yeah. And my dad decided to buy a shrimp boat. So he became a commercial fisherman.
Wow. And did he fish off the coast of Texas?
Absolutely. Yeah. Galveston, Texas City.
Yeah.
And then there was a hurricane wreck.
Oh, man.
Bought another boat, then moved to Louisiana. Now we moved to Cajun country.
Yeah. So, you're compadres with Alan Autry then, because he's a Louisianan.
That's right.
Stuff. So that's kind of cool. Well, how did you end up in California?
And so my mom's health was failing, and we also had family here move to Fresno.
Gotcha.
And so we thought it was best that the younger siblings, so the three older siblings, they were kind of off doing their own thing. The first two were married, and the four younger ones were not married yet. Obviously, we were too young.
Yeah.
And so we got a chance to go to school, and we landed on Maple and Kings Canyon.
Wow.
We made the trek on the I-10 from Louisiana all the way up the Grapevine, and landed in Fresno, California on Maple and Kings Canyon.
I love it. I love it. And so what schools did you go to when you were here?
So I got enrolled into John Burroughs Elementary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. John Burroughs. That was a good school.
Yep.
Yep.
Still is a good school. And we had a track system. If you've been around long enough,
yes,
we had the track system.
That's right. In fact, it was year round, probably about the time you were there.
That's right.
And a lot of immigrant families, interestingly enough, would want to stay in school every day year round. And I know in the Hmong community, many of them would move to another school so they could re-enroll again. They saw the value of education.
That's right. They were ahead of the game.
Yeah.
They saw like, wow, this place provides free education. Let's take advantage of that. Yeah. And so John Burroughs, then Yosemite Middle School, Sequoia Freshman, and then Roosevelt.
Okay. Yeah. Roosevelt Rough Riders. Yeah. I love it. Well, you know, it's interesting when you think about the trek you took. Did you take a boat from Vietnam when you got it, or how did you get here?
So we definitely, there were some boats in our story as we were just navigating the waters and trying to get to Thailand so that we can get to the refugee camp.
So it was out of Thailand that you came. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so then we got the flight, landed in San Francisco. And then from San Francisco, we flew to Houston.
Gotcha. Well, a lot of immigrant families have had that same track to try to get here. And I'll tell you, it's amazing when you think about the good things that have happened. I think you're aware, my wife Dot has mentored 9 Hmong girls for over 20 years. And just, it's fun to see their history, where God has taken them and what they're doing. So anyway, you ended up, at Roosevelt High School. Tell me about your high school days. What was it like for you? Obviously, and folks, Vanna has almost no accent. I mean, you speak English so well, and I'm sure you kept your home language as well, but you have almost no accent. How did you acquire that?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's 3 languages spoken in my family.
Okay.
Now, I only speak 2, but mom, dad, and the 3 older siblings, they're trilingual.
Okay.
Cambodian, Vietnamese, and English. And being that I was the youngest, I was enamored with reading, with school, with television, and now I'm enamored with Spanish because it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so and that began with my days at Roosevelt. And when you're in Southeast Fresno, it's so diverse.
Yes.
And like skin color doesn't matter. You're just friends with who you go to school with and your neighbors.
Absolutely.
Yep. And with your teachers.
Yeah.
And so Roosevelt was a great time. Yosemite was a great time because we were just loved by the teachers, to be honest.
And that's something.
They just loved us. In fact, one of my teachers that was with me in junior high, he was also my teacher in high school, but decades later, we will be classmates at the seminary.
Is that right? What a fantastic story.
So Steve Thurman.
Yeah.
Even though he tells me to call him Steve, he's always Mr. Thurman.
Yeah. And I know him.
That's right.
That's right. In fact, I was, at one point in my career, I was a guidance learning director at Yosemite Middle School. And then I was principal at Kings Canyon. So, I've been around a lot.
Oh, those are the...
Yeah. But a lot of great families have come in there and seen education as their ticket to success and things. And we know we also add another factor and that's the Lord.
That's right. Absolutely.
And changing your life. But tell me a little more about, are you married?
Married in 2004.
Okay.
And so we just celebrated 18 years. We have 2 boys and a girl, 12, 8, soon to be 9, 6, soon to be 7.
Okay.
So my youngest is my daughter.
Yeah. And where do they go to school?
So they are the new school Herrera Elementary.
Oh, yeah.
Juan Felipe Herrera.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well, it's an interesting track when we look back at where God had us and where he's got us and what's going on with that. So I know that you had an interesting life growing up, and you ended up in we're going to talk about Hope Now for Youth, which is a gang intervention program that does some fantastic things. And we want to hear some stories about some of your folks that have been through it, what God has done for them and things. But tell us a little bit about your life. Oh, you know what? We're already done with our first 12 minutes. Vanna, we're going to be right back. Folks, you're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're so glad you're with us. Vanna N is here from Hope Now for Youth. You're going to hear some interesting stories about his life and about a lot of folks who have a different path in life because of Hope Now for Youth. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down. People on the best talk in town.
Hey, welcome back to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're so glad you're with us, and we have just a special guest today, Vanna N, who is the executive director of Hope Now for Youth, doing some amazing things. But we're listening a little bit to your story, Vanna, and how you God took you through, got you through some really tough times, and got you now in a leadership role that is absolutely phenomenal on the lives that are being impacted. But tell the folks a little bit about your history and, you know, how you ended up where you are now and the path you got to there.
So unfortunately, part of the story of being a refugee, there's some trauma and some hurt and some pain. And unfortunately, and I'm not proud to say it, but it's the truth, we grew up in a very violent family and emotionally charged, emotionally distressed, and a very abusive. And there's plenty of blame to go around.
Sure.
But speaking reality, it's just that it was a rough childhood for all of the siblings. And my mom and dad did not have the skills and abilities to receive healing for how they were raised.
Right.
And they weren't Christians, so they weren't able to go to the Lord. They weren't able to turn to the Holy Scriptures. They were exposed to Christianity from missionaries. But from what I know, my mom and my dad are not followers of Jesus, thus not having a place to get the healing. So as a result, the abuse rolled downhill.
Right.
And so as a result of that, there was pain. My sister ran away from home to get away from the family. My brother found a gang, and that accepted him for who he is, who he was. And so I followed in his footsteps.
Gotcha.
Another brother went to prison. And so of the 6 siblings, 5 have been incarcerated. And the other one that was not incarcerated should have been, because he was my crime partner.
Wow.
So that is the state of my family.
Amazing. And so where you are now is absolutely the grace of the Lord.
Amen.
To get you here. But it was a very arduous journey. And God took you through a lot of experiences that have paid off for what you do now in a lot of ways. So he takes something that is a negative, turns it into a positive, so that you can have an amazing impact on the folks that you now work with.
Right. If just think about how the Apostle Paul talks about his life is just a reflection of God's grace. I mean, that's really is my life. I gave my life to God in the county jail. Realized that, you know what, I thought it was the reason why I was the way I was and how I ended up here was because I wasn't faithful to Buddha. Jesus Christ met me in the county jail.
Wow.
March 1994.
Is that right?
And I said, man, this has to be the one true God, because he is pursuing me now. And so I'm reading books about people who gave their lives to God. I'm reading about books about people whose lives were just a hot mess in the legal system, in prison, and God met them where they're at. And I said, man, if God can do this for them, he can do it for me. And he did.
Yeah, amazing. At church this last Sunday, we had a little video vignette that you shared, which was really powerful, talking about your history and where God has you now. So tell us a little bit about Hope Now for Youth. When did it get started? How long has it been around? And who got it going?
So the who got it going? The who got it going is Reverend Roger Manassian.
Fantastic guy.
Pastor of a congregation and on his way to retirement and just enjoying the fruits of his labor because he put in the work, right?
Yeah.
Served this country, serving our congregation, and yet God tugged his heart.
Yeah, I love it.
God tugged his heart to reach out to gang members.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know nothing about gang members.
He wasn't involved in that lifestyle, at all. So it's an amazing story.
But he was just pulled by the lack of hopelessness that these young men face in his own city.
Yeah.
So he, over pizza, he heard their stories. And there was 3 of them.
Wow.
And it just broke his heart, the lives that they had to live.
Yeah.
And so he approached some leaders in the community, says, I want to work with gang members, and I think God is calling me to help them get jobs. And that started February 1993.
1993. Wow. And you're coming upon your 30th reunion then, or 30th anniversary.
That's right.
Yeah, with that.
We are coming up on our 30th anniversary. Next February will be our 30th anniversary, which is when we have our banquet. But he went on to serve and 2 other directors after him. And then I'm the 4th director of Hope Now.
Yeah. Roger is one of these amazing people that you can't help but help him when he asks you for it. He connected with everybody in the community. Everybody loved him, so how do you say no?
That's right.
And you think about it, picking gang members, that's not an easy route. I mean, the whole history, and I've worked with kids all my life because of being an educator and ending up from teacher to superintendent and things. And I know what a tough struggle it is for families, and moms and dads don't have impact on gang members because gang members are loved by the gang. That's what keeps them in it, is they're accepted as they are. I wish we could learn more from that, that if we were to accept people a lot more, we would have a lot better chance at, changing their lives. And I know Hope Now for Youth does that, doesn't, criticize them, but leads them. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's so, being that I was in the gang, I was involved in a horrendous crime that unfortunately left a rival gang member who passed away. And so again, I ended up in the county jail, and I changed my not guilty plea when I gave my life to Lord to I essentially pled guilty. I signed a no contest and was sent to the youth authority. Got my training in the Bible, learned, was a part of the Protestant chapel, and I just dug into God's word. And then when I got out, I needed a job.
Yeah.
Nobody would hire me because of my record.
Sure.
I could not get a job.
Wow.
And then somebody that I was incarcerated with gave me a card to Hope Now, called Hope Now, and I went there in 2001, and they did what they said they were going to do. They helped me get a job.
And and that's the ticket. It's almost hopeless if you can't get some resources. And when you're rejected by people on a regular basis because of history, nobody believes you'll change or you have changed, and nobody wants to take a chance. So when you take a look at what Roger Manassian did, he changed the way people look at former gang members and folks wanting to get out of that lifestyle.
Absolutely. And because when you're in prison or the California Authority, they prep you for life on the streets to a certain extent. Get your education, get a trade, and talk about healing. But when you get out, nobody is aware of what you've done, except for what is on paper.
Yeah.
And what paper says is you committed this crime, you were convicted, figure it out. And a group of people called Hope Now have helped over 2,200 men get first-time jobs.
Wow.
That's just first-time jobs.
Yeah. Amazing.
We've helped over 8,000 jobs in our 30 years. And obviously, we haven't done it alone.
Yeah.
People's Church is a part of that. Daryl's Mini Storage is a part of that.
Yeah.
JP Lamborn, Fresno Plumbing and Heating, and on and on and on. City of Fresno.
Yeah.
I mean, we would be here for another hour just for me to list all the organizations and companies that have helped Hope Now. That's right.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was looking at on your website, you have Hope Now's impact. and you have on there 2,275 first-time job placements since Hope Now for Youth. That's remarkable, because you're not talking about somebody out of college, looking for a job. You're talking about somebody who's out of gangs looking for a job, and all the fear that goes along with that. And yet you've been able to place almost 2,300 people in a first-time job to change the trajectory of their lives. Remarkable.
I recently met an old classmate at Story Elementary.
Oh, yeah.
His daughter and my son were in the same class. He was a former gang member. He is still at the job that Hope Now got him in the mid-90s.
You're kidding.
At Pepsi.
Wow. So it works.
It works. And you know what? Provide him an income, and he is no longer running the streets, because now he has too much to lose. And that is the beauty of Hope Now. One, God. It's Jesus Christ and a job. And the secret sauce is also the lived experience of the staff members who have been in the shoes of these young men. All 7 staff members have been former gang members and were incarcerated before.
Wow. It's interesting. And I love that story is so powerful. And to think that Roger Manassian comes from no experience, starts this up, listens to the Lord on let's change some lives. Don't know how I'm going to do it, but God, you're going to help me. And then with all of his connections in the community and helping to get that started from 1993, that's remarkable.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was people like yourself, Larry, and other people in churches and organizations believe, like, we don't know what to do, but you seem like you know what you're doing, or you at least have the intent. Yeah. And you have a vision and a mission. What will it take? And that's what happened. He rallied those people, like, we don't know what to do, but we can help you. And look what it's done. Yeah,
it's amazing. Now, that's a formula for a story that is really good. Is churches don't necessarily know what to do, but they certainly can have resources, can provide support, can do some things that have an impact as well. And so I love the fact that People's Church and others are also doing that same kind of thing. I was also reading on your impact statement here on your website. 397 cards handed out to potential Hope Now clients just this year. You're contacting people all the time of, if you need help, come and see us. We want to help you. And you're breaking down barriers for a lot of folks. I can't believe we're done with our second segment already. Those 12 minutes fly by quick, and stuff. But Vanna, it's so nice having you here. We've got Vanna in from Hope Now for Youth. Hear a great story of God's redemption and how God's grace has him now helping other former gang members get out of the lifestyle and have hope. And we're so glad you've joined us. You're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down.
So what happened is, you stop the segment 12 minutes, and then he pushes play again, and then you go, okay.
Yep.
All right.
We're off and running.
That's awesome.
The People on the best talk in town.
Hey, we're so glad you're back with us. Powell to the People, and Vanna is my guest today. What a great story of God's redemption and how he now is impacting so many former gang members and changing lives through utilizing what he has gone through and how God has used him in a powerful way. And it's really a fantastic story. Vanna, I'm looking at your impact statement because I just think it's so amazing that since Hope Now for Youth has been established, there's been a total job placement of 7,960 jobs. That's remarkable, because we've got a lot of folks who couldn't find jobs that didn't have a history like a gang member does. And yet you guys have been able to find almost 8,000 jobs. But it's also a testament to the people in the community who open up those jobs because they trust what you have to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The reality is, as we all know, life is messy.
Yeah.
And it always hasn't been pretty when you're dealing with those who have a gang history and those who have traumas and triggers. But we're tracking, we're moving along, we're putting our hand to the plow, and we're moving forward. And because of that, when a guy loses a job that he caused, as he's the reason why, they come back, we process, we talk about it, And let's say, okay, how can we prevent this from happening?
From the next time, yeah.
Of the 7,960 jobs on there, there's more placements since. But 6 of the fights, there's been 6 fights total.
Okay.
That, at least that we know about. 5 was by one guy.
Is that right? Wow.
Well, it just goes to show you who we're dealing with and people that just have much hurt. And
Absolutely.
that person now, I just met his wife. She's working at a school and she's doing well. They're doing well.
Yeah.
But Hope Now was there for him every step of the way.
Had to hang in there with him during that time. And, one thing I've learned from kids in school is they don't believe it when you say, we love you, we'll help you, because their history is adults don't do that. And other people diss them, and turn them away. And so they challenge you. And one of the things I used to tell teachers is get ready for that kid to say something stupid or to see how you're going to react, because they're trying to get an action out of you because they expect it to come. And the same thing's true here. They don't believe that you're actually you're going to help them with a job and that they actually can turn their lives around. But you have some great histories. I was reading through your website. You have some great stories of redemption on some of the folks. You got any you'd like to share on some things that have happened with some of them?
I mean, it actually starts with the staff.
Okay.
So my number 2 associate director, Paul, former Bulldog gang member, he would say it like this is no longer my identity, but like I was a former gang member. I was a former drug addict. I grew up in a home that was just in disarray. Didn't have a real relationship with his dad. The relationship that he had with his mom was unhealthy and just chaos all around him.
Wow.
On his way to the county jail, on probation, somebody told him about Hope Now.
Amazing.
He became a dad at the age of 15.
Which is another complication that is a struggle and a pressure. And, how do you deal being a parent when you're still a kid?
And all that led to him going to jail, living the gang life. And when he got to Hope Now, he got a job.
Wow.
I got a job with the city of Fresno.
Is that right? That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
That led him to another job, Kaiser Sports. And that led him to another job. And the next job was with Hope Now. He really worked his way up.
Yeah.
Like he was at the bottom, worked his way up, and now he's Hope Now's number 2. He's the associate director.
Wow.
My number 3, prison, went to Hope Now, 8 years total. I mean, but got married through Hope Now. He and Paul, outside of Hope Now, in their former lives, were bitter rival enemies.
Is that right?
And now
they're walking side by side.
And these guys, instead of in the past killing each other, these guys would now die for each other.
Ooh.
I mean, I see their relationship every day. And when you talk about John 15, verse 13, greater love has no one than this, than when a man laid down his life for his friends.
Yeah.
These guys, you can tell they love each other because they love the Lord, and Hope Now made it possible.
Isn't that amazing? That's a great story.
Rival enemies become brothers. And now they're my number 2. So Paul's the associate director. Johnny is the director of social enterprise, gifted, talented. And Paul just got his bachelor's from Moody Bible Institute. Johnny, he's rocking it as the social enterprise director, where he's managing and overseeing our carpet cleaning business, which is ready to go.
I saw that was up.
And then we recently bought a food trailer, and who is run
food trucks are big.
Yeah. And so we were blessed to get one. And Rudy Marquez, former gang member, he is going to be in charge of the food truck. And then we got another guy, Martin Castro. He did 19 years in prison, former gang member as well. We got Sam Ban, who is, grew up in South East.
Love Sam.
Right?
Great guy.
We thank you, People's Church, for providing him a place. And so we plucked him from People's Church, but thank you. And former gang member as well. And then we got Rob Lowe, former gang member. Tragic story, right? He got married last September and his wife passed away in October. But he is on staff now and he is kicking tail passing out flyers and loving on these guys.
Wow. That's an amazing story. You have some remarkable people. Speak about social enterprise a little bit, because I don't know, folks, I don't know if you know, but we have community transformation that takes place in, when Fresno Pacific University has a section there that helps with that.
Yeah. So Fresno Pacific has the CCT, which is the Center for Community Transformation, and Randy and Carlos are great at just supporting local businesses.
Yep.
And so we presented our food truck, and it wasn't just a place to bring revenue in for Hope Now, but like, what problem are you solving? And one of the problems that we get to solve with the food trailer is we do get some revenue, but guys are learning training.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They're learning how to work. One of the things that I learned from John Raymond is he said, you go to school to learn how to learn. Well, guys have never learned how to work.
Yeah.
They think selling drugs and the customer's coming to you, that's work ethic. No.
Doesn't work that way.
No. And so the food truck provides that avenue of job training, work ethic, and working it out. Like, I've heard Focus Forward say this, fail forward on us.
Yes.
I like that. I like fail forward on us. Yeah. Come here, learn. And we test them with time management and work ethic. And it goes back to what we teach at Hope Now, WOOF, right? Started by Roger Manassan. WOOF is an acronym that stands for work hard, on time, learn fast, friendly. And we emphasize that. And if you can work hard, be on time, learn fast, friendly, that is the perfect worker.
Absolutely. And people will hire you.
And as a result, but guys come to Hope Now, they're not on time, they're late, they don't have an idea what it means to be, or to have a strong work ethic, and they're not always friendly.
Yep.
And so we help them to see these are behaviors that can be corrected. You were not born this way.
That's correct.
Now, we do have a sinful nature, but you were not born this way. This can be changed.
Yeah. Well, Vanna, it's really interesting because In-N-Out Burger is one of the friendliest places around on the planet in terms of business, but they train their folks how to be that friendly. You don't just start out friendly. You do get trained. And so helping, your clients understand that they can change the trajectory of their lives by how they behave, and they can control the behavior.
Exactly.
And then employers love it. I'll tell you what, I've seen a lot of your folks who have gotten jobs, and I hear from employers that they become some of the most committed people working for them. So if you're an employer out there right now, what would you want to tell a potential employer about the people you can get them to bring in and work for them?
What I would say to a potential employer is that's what we're training our clients on, to work hard, to be on time, as we know in the military, right?
Yeah.
If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. So we emphasize that.
Yeah.
Because getting there is half the battle.
Yep.
And when you're there, take all the training that you can. Be a fast learner. Learn as much as you can.
Yep. So
we had one guy who got to the city of Fresno, and now he's learning this training. He's learning this. He's getting his Class B.
Wow.
And he just got there a year ago, and he is just rising up the ranks. And then be friendly.
Yeah.
Get along with everybody. One of the two facets of leadership is play well with others in the sandbox and be flexible. And if you're flexible, meaning you're not rigid and you're hey, stuff happens on the job.
Yeah.
Just be flexible and play well with others in the sandbox. Those are marks of leadership, and you will get promoted. And guys I'll get raises for that. I say, yeah. I'll get promotions for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they just light up, and they realize wow, man, this is just so much more profitable than being in a gang and going to jail and selling drugs.
Yeah. And family has a chance, It's interesting. Most people don't understand that there's actually a path and learning to becoming successful. They just look at people who are successful and they think, well, you're successful. You didn't have to do anything to get there. But actually there are steps you can learn, and they can become a part of you to be successful. And so what you've done is opened up a box that was closed, and they're now reading the book, and they're realizing, I can do this. In fact, a lot of gang members actually have leadership qualities, and you're redirecting them. I love what's happening with that. Well, I can't believe we're done with our third segment already, Vanna, but we want to hear more about, what's going on with Hope Now for Youth. changing the trajectory of a lot of lives, and not only the individual, but the family members as well. And we just love what's taking place. We want to talk a little more about how you might be involved and help support them. You're listening to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Powell to the People. Write it down.
Love it. Powell to the People. It's so funny.
People on the best talk in town.
Hey, welcome back to Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. We're so glad you're with us. You're listening to KXEX 1550 AM. And remember, we're on Saturdays at 4, Sundays at 6. You can also catch us on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We got it. There's a place for you to listen. Vanna, I really like what you have on your website. What is the website for folks?
Our website is hopenow.org.
Hopenow.org.
If you type in hopenowforyouth.org, but hopenow.org directs you to our website.
Right. And folks, I'd really encourage you to go check it out, because you've got a section on there that talks about a caring relationship plus a job. And that's the mantra that you use all the time. People don't believe people care about them. But once they understand there are people out there who do care about you, and once you've got a job, and I understand people are going to start liking me. You know, gang members have personalities. They have, likes and dislikes just like everybody else. And boy, anything we can do to help them get out of that lifestyle and have a permanent position in community, in our community, makes a huge difference. And, and a job is one of those things that value comes from work, and the Bible teaches us that. Look at the ant, and if you're sitting around not doing much, you can't feel very good about yourself.
That's right.
So it's an important part of who we are in order to make that happen. But talk about the cost effectiveness of what you're doing for an individual, for society in general, because if they're not working, and they're getting in trouble, what's it costing us?
If you go to the website of this law advocacy group, it costs the state of California to incarcerate somebody in prison roughly $51,000 a year.
Wow.
And a lot of that is medical. And I think the number has even jumped between 50 to 70, 80, 90,000.
Yeah.
It costs Hope Now for a one-time fee of $5,000.
Wow.
One-time fee.
Wow. So if you get $25,000, you help 5 people.
For the entirety of their lives.
That's amazing. And yet, and I was reading one statistic that it's about $95,000 when you look at prosecuting and all of the things that go along with that. So not only incarceration, but to get them to the incarceration, you're looking at $95,000 to $100,000 that if you could actually help 20 people, 25 people change their lives for the rest of their lives and become productive part of tax-paying Americans. So there's a really good thing with that. But on top of that, you've also changed their eternal trajectory as well.
That's right. We wish that all of our guys would surrender their hearts to Jesus, but at their pace. When you come into Hope Now, every Tuesday at 2:00, you will hear about Jesus. And you will hear why Hope Now was formed.
Yeah.
And you will hear why we do what we do. You don't have to believe it.
Yeah.
But it's just like training at a job. This is all part of job training.
Yeah.
At the same time, we also get to share the gospel and tell the good news that, man, you're a sinner, but Jesus loves you and he made a way and you can choose him or not.
Yeah, I love it. And it really is an important message. If anybody out there listening has a friend, a family member who's involved in gangs and wants to get out of that lifestyle, what's the number they call?
237-7215.
Okay.
That's our office number. It's also a text, leave a voice message. 237-7215. That is the number to reach out to Hope Now. And it's not just gang members, Larry.
Yeah.
It is those that have an arrest record, those that dropped out of traditional school and are in continuation school. And we raised our age from 24 to 39. And even then, if you are over the age of 39, we will help you on a case-by-case basis.
Wow.
We recently helped out somebody who came from the federal probation system. He did 13 years. He's in his early 50s. We helped him get a job.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Well, you are a one-stop shop in a lot of ways. You're going to help them understand how to dress, how to communicate, be on time, the keys to success. Be a parent. Yeah.
Relationships.
Yeah.
Recognizing your anger and releasing it. We even have a program where we will help you get your driver's license.
Wow.
I got my driver's license through Hope Now.
Is that right?
I got my marriage counseling through Hope Now. I got my degrees, my AA, my BA, my MA while on staff at Hope Now.
Yeah.
This is what Hope Now does. And again, I receive services from Hope Now. Not only am I a client, not only am I the director, but I was also a client.
Yeah.
20 years later, I'm running the place, and it's just like, and that's what we tell the guys. This is not overnight.
Yeah.
This is a long process. I still had to check with ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. I still had to do all these things.
Right.
But all that work led me to getting a pardon in 2018 with lots of advocacy for people from the city. Got a pardon, and now I have an opportunity to become a citizen. Never thought that was possible. So these are the stuff that scripts and movies are made of. Like, dreams do happen, even with an arrest record, even for former gang members.
We need to talk to Alan Autry about a movie. For Hope Now for Youth. Well, obviously Roger's done some stuff. We
have Streets of Hope from Gangs and Jobs.
Yeah.
We need a part 2.
Yeah. So if folks go onto your website, hopenow.org, all you got to do, is just hit that little button, and you can watch that. But you've got an event coming up, Micah Tyler concert, which is coming up on September 30th. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, September 30th, the president of our board, chairman of our board, was able to get Micah Tyler and book Micah Tyler to come to Fresno September 30th at People's Church. And it's starting at 7 o'clock. And it's just going to be a great time for people who don't know about Hope Now to learn more about Hope Now. Because the reality is, the way we get funds is through private donations and foundations and churches to support us. That's how we've been able to continue to preach the gospel. But it's also a time to get together and be reminded of the power of Jesus.
Yes.
And so Micah Tyler is coming. You can buy tickets online at our website at hopenow.org. It's only $20. And it's going to be a great time just to get together and to even just to learn more about this organization that has been doing it for almost 30 years in our city.
Yeah, it's amazing. And if you go to your website, you can click on and hear Micah sing a couple of his songs, and you're going to go, wow, this is good stuff.
His song Walking Free, I was weeping just because the stories resemble so much of the lives of the guys here at Hope Now, here in Fresno and Clovis, in our own city. Yeah,
things that are real for a lot of folks, and they go through all the time,
Yeah, and this is a big deal, Larry, and we're so grateful for Dale and the team, Pastor Brad, at People's, making this available.
Yeah.
And they're not sending us a bill. So that is why Hope Now continues to thrive, because of partners like People's Church and First Pres and Cornerstone Church and just all the many churches, again, a Pilgrim Congregational, just so many. We would be here for an hour if I listed all the churches that have been supporting it.
Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic. Well, I know that you had mentioned something like 300 businesses support Hope Now for Youth and have done things with the organization. But you also, one of the things that maybe you want to mention a little bit is once somebody gets a job, they tend to stay in the job. You got a retention rate of what, 80%?
75%.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, it is either they get released or they get promoted to another job. So like me, I left People's Church, but why did I leave People's Church?
Yeah.
I was on staff at People's Church for 14 months, but I left People's Church to work on staff at Hope Now.
To get a better position.
Same thing like Sam Bam.
Yeah.
And so our goal is to be in communication and contact with the guys and the employers. And see, that's the thing too. When you're in contact, when you employ a Hope Now guy, not only do you get the guy, but you get Hope Now and the staff.
Yes.
So we mentor, disciple the guy, and we do a lot of conflict resolution, because conflict is everywhere. It happens all the time.
Yeah,
and so we have been trained in conflict resolution.
Yeah. What's fantastic is if you're an employer, you hire one of your guys and you need help, Hope Now for Youth is there to talk to the employer, talk to the employee, and to help work things out so you can get through that period of time that's uncomfortable, maybe.
That's right.
So that they can become long-term employees in that organization. So it's not we got you a job, we're banding you, we're out of here, good luck, hope you make it. You're really doing a lot of really good things to make sure that it is a long-term relationship with the employer as well as the client. So that's pretty remarkable. Well, you also have a banquet that you do every year. Tell us a little bit about that so we can get it on our calendars for people.
Yes, we have a banquet in February. I think it's February 23rd.
Okay, but every February there's a banquet.
Every February there's a banquet. And this year, like last year, we're at Clovis Veterans Memorial.
Okay, great place to have a banquet.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we typically give out an award for Alumni of the Year. And we just share stories of transformation.
Yeah, I love it. And they're fantastic stories. I'll tell you what, I have not been able to watch those stories without weeping, because I've been so blessed. I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up with resources and all of those things. But the family members and the clients that you have who have gone through some of the most hellish kinds of conditions that you could possibly go through are now in a so much better place because of Hope Now for Youth.
Yes.
And it has changed their trajectory and done an amazing thing. What the last thing? We're down to 1 minute left. I can't believe how fast this time goes. What would you like to conclude us with?
So our mission statement is a job and caring relationships.
Yep.
Helps a young man from the streets and into a life of productivity. And here are the three things: transformation, belonging, and then we end it with generosity.
Oh, I love it.
Heart has to be transformed, and they belong not to a gang now, but to a family of God. And generosity, Ephesians 4:28. Those who used to steal should no longer steal, but work with their hands and then share with those in need.
Yeah.
So we come full circle with these guys, and it's based on God's holy word. And so that's why we are reminded, and we keep on doing what we do, is because of God's word reminding us that, man, these lives can be changed.
HopeNow.org. Vanna N., Executive Director, thanks so much for being with us. What a great segment. Please hit that share button if you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube or one of those, or you've got it on Spotify. Share the story because it's a great story. Thank you so much for being with us at Powell to the People, where civility is always in style. See you next week.